I'm ready.
All right. Here, welcome Orlando to the lectern.
Thank you, Frank. Awesome. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hugo, welcome. Man, I'm excited. It's a new year. I'm excited to be in where I'm at today. My church, in my family, and choose to change. I always want to get in right here in front of this pulpit. Feel like my pastor. He likes being in front of his pulpit. I like being in front of this class. Okay, my second best is in the prison. It's awesome to speak to those men. I'll be there on Saturday. Art is going to go with me as well. Frank is going to go with me. We're going to go do this seminar. This reentry seminar where I teach this, what I'm going to share with you tonight. I was hoping to just inspire you tonight, this evening, to inspire you to believe, because that's what we're going to have to do. Because you can't see it yet, you can't feel it yet, you're not there yet, but you need to believe it before you can get there. That's the only way to do it. There's no other way. And I'm telling you, there is no other way. Right? And I'm excited. Not because my life is perfect right now. Not because everything is going great. But because there's hope. But because I can change, because I can do something. Can you see that, guys? Or those of us who were locked up, you remember when you were locked up, there was nothing you could do. Nothing. All we hope for is just, man, I wish I could just, well, you're here. What are you doing with it? That's what I tell people. And I'm so excited when I see men doing something with their lives. People doing something with their lives. People, just because there's no easy way out, but at least there's a way out, and that's all I was looking for. So welcome to the Choose a Change Reentry program. And I wasn't sure what to name the class today, but here's what I'm going to name it, because this is what I'm going to talk about. Is change really possible for me? It's important to put that "for me" there. Is change really possible for me? Say it. Is change really possible for who? Me. That is the question. I lost my, there it is. That I want you to stay with as we go through this. Con razón no se cierra. As I go through this next few minutes with you guys. There's a scripture in the Bible, my first scripture that I ever read, that I ever learned. I was 17 years old. I was in the county jail. I was in there for murder. Believe it or not, I was tried and convicted for first-degree murder at the age of 17 years old. And I remember I was in the county jail, and I was this little old man used to come into our cell block, and he would tell us about Jesus. Is when I got introduced to the gospel. I didn't get saved right there and then. Well, I actually did, but I just did it because that's what, just out of respect for that gentleman. But that's where I first learned about the gospel of Jesus Christ. He planted a seed. But one of the first scriptures that he taught me was Luke 1:37. Does anybody know what it says? For with God, nothing shall be impossible. And let me tell you, that little scripture, I grabbed a hold of it. I don't know why, but I remembered it because I was in an impossible situation, right? And I said, "Wow, with God, there's nothing impossible." And that was my mentality. I remember when I desperately needed God, and I'm going to share a little bit here in a minute. And I would remember these scriptures about God. that he said, all things are possible to him who believes. Nothing shall be impossible. So what this program is really all about is helping people understand what it really takes to change your life, what it really takes to move forward in life. This is what this class is about, to help you understand that. Today, I want to just give you an overview of what this class is, because we're starting a new year. And I'm about to start the next, we call it a 90-day reentry program, because every 90 days I go through the same thing. And the reason I started doing that is, number one, I am a kind of person that I needed repetition. I needed to understand it myself in order to be able to do it and execute things. I'm still having trouble with a lot of things. But I've learned that all I got to do is just keep on doing it. And then eventually, it may not happen the way I want it, but it happens. And I move forward. And the second reason I do this 90-day reentry program is because there's always new people coming in. And I had to figure out a way where I could always be teaching, because there's always someone new. And today there's a lot of you new in here. And so this is why I started teaching it in this way, a 90-day reentry program, so that you could always learn it. And then you can come at any time and get in here. Like today, many of you are new. You can stay here and you can go through the next 90 days with me. And not only will you learn a great deal, not only will you hopefully get inspired, but I'll give you a little certificate. Ay, Jesús. We like certificates. In prison, I used to save all my certificates. Tenía bastante. I was proud of my certificates. What I found out is that they do me no good out here. Anyway, it's another story for another time. But that's why we're here. I want you to help me understand. So the question I had, like I said, when I was in prison, 27 years ago, the question I had was, is change really possible for me? You know, some of us weren't as bad as I was, right? I was what I called a loser drug addict, a loser father, a loser husband, I was a loser. That's who I was, okay? I'm not calling nobody losers. One time somebody walked out of here mad because I called them a loser. I'm not calling you a loser. I'm telling you what I thought of myself. And in my mind, I thought it was impossible for a man like me to change his life. And this is why when I got to that point in my life that I wanted to change my life, I thought it was just, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't think it was possible. I said, well, I'm excited about getting changed, but I don't know about that. This is the whole reason I started Choose to Change. To help you understand what it's really going to take to change your life. To help you understand and give you key ingredients. To help you learn how to live as a new man, as a new person, as a new woman. In other words, that old man that the Bible teaches us that when we come to Christ, when we give our lives to God, the idea is that we take off the old man and we put on the new man. Well, how do you do that? That's what you're going to learn in here. And then I'm also going to share with you, I'm going to just briefly share it today about surrender. What it really takes. What is it? What surrender really means? Who's ever heard that word before? Surrender. I heard it the first time when I got arrested. That's what surrender is. You know, you can kick and fight and shit like I did. I ran. I remember when I got arrested, I ran. But I can only go so far. But once they put those cuffs on you, it's over. You can. Who understands that? I surrendered. There was nowhere to run. That's what we have to do. And the question I have, another question I ask people all the time is, that was my question that I had, right? Is it possible? So now my question to you this evening is, do you want to change your life? And I'm assuming yes, because you're here. But if you want to change your life, then there's some things that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to change. We're going to have to learn if you want to move forward in life. And that's the key, you know. I ask this question all the time. And when people come in to choose a change, when people come into church, when people talk to me, when a mother or a husband or a wife or a grandmother tells me about their son or their loved one, and, you know, can you help them? Can you talk to them? Yes, I can. I hate to tell them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm learning how to tell mothers and wives and grandmothers how to deal with their loved one, because it's not easy. Because the reality is, if you don't want to change, you're not going to change. That's all there is to it. But when I ask people, how do you want to change your life? They say yes, but. Who's heard that before? Do you want to change your life? Yeah, but what? Well, let's get and he starts with all the reasons why he can't change. And so, what are the reasons that why you can't change? All the problems you have, the obstacles you're facing, the issues you have, the feelings you have, your mistakes, your regret, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunt, and the dog died, and it just goes on and on. Why you can't change your life. And then I listen for a while, and then I ask again, but do you want to change your life? Yes, but it continues the story. And then finally I ask, but do you want to change your life? And finally they'll say, yes, I do. But no more buts. Because if you want to change your life, the good news is that you can. And I can help you. Because if you're sitting here tonight with a sincere desire, let me repeat that, a sincere desire, because that's what you need, to change your life, then you need to really thank God for that. Did you know that? You really need to thank God that you even want to change. Who's ever dealt with somebody that don't want to change? It's like dealing with teenagers. They don't want to change. You know why? Because they don't think they need to. And that's how a lot of us are. Why? There's nothing wrong with me. That's you. So you need to thank God for that, because it's hard to get there to where you really want to change, where you take off the blinders and you say, oh, okay. Yeah, I need to change. So you need to thank God. And where does that start? Where does that start? Right here. Because the next question was, okay, if it's really possible for me to change, then how do I do it? Where do I start? Who do I turn to? Who can help me? Can the priest help me? Can the chaplain help me? Can the counselor help me? Can my mom help? Who's going to tell me how to change? Especially if you're who's a drug addict in here? I was a drug addict. I mean, and I knew that nobody understood that. None of my family understood me. There was no way. My mom? No. We took advantage of my mom. My sister, I took advantage of my sisters. My wife, because that's what drug addicts do. Am I right or wrong? We lie and we cheat and we do all that. That's what we do. And so then when I wanted to change my life, I mean, who do you turn to? I remember turning to my mom when I first wanted to change my life. Well, how do they help you? So there you go. I know, I don't know what they did, but I remember my mom, my sister, and my sister's here, by the way. Maybe I'd ask her what they did, find something, rehab. I have no idea what they did, but they found some rehab. Because that's the first thing we think of, rehab. We have no idea what rehab is, but that's what we think of. So why am I saying that? Because that was my next question. Why change? And so then when I got to my point of that I wanted to change my life, for me, many of you have heard my story. I was went to prison by the time I was 17 years old, 18 years old. I was in prison, went to prison for a 20-year sentence. I spent from the age of 18 to the age of 24 there in a Ferguson unit. In Ferguson unit, I got saved. I gave my life to Jesus Christ, but I backslid before I got out. I was confused about God, about religion, and about all that. And at the age of 24 years old, I walked out of prison, a backslidden, confused Christian. And then just 3 months upon my release from prison, just 3 months, I was 24 years old. I put a needle in my arm full of cocaine for the first time. I became a hardcore drug addict. Now, why I did that, how all that happened, that's irrelevant, but that's what happened. And for the next 10 years, from the age of 24 to the age of 34, I was one of those drug addicts that all I can think of was, where am I going to get my next hit? That's how drug addicts think. Who understands that? Where am I going to get my next drink? Where am I going to get my next hit? Where am I going to go to my next party? How am I going to get more money? That's how we think. The kind of stuff I teach family members. Let me help you understand how drug addicts think. I do this in churches all the time. Because the mom and the brother and the sister and the mother and the wife and the grandma, they don't know. And we drug addicts know they don't know. And that's why a lot of people don't come back to my class. Because I say, man, that guy knows too much. But if you want to change your life, and so then at the age of 34 years old, after 10 years of drug addiction, getting married, hurting my family, stealing from my family, lying to my family, having 2 daughters, and at the age of 34 years old, I did the unthinkable, and I robbed the store again for one more hit of cocaine on my daughter's 4th birthday. And the pivoting point was when I called my wife from the county jail. Sunday morning, my daughter's 4th birthday, been gone all night. Now I'm arrested, 1st-degree felony, habitual indictment, aggravated robbery. I'm not coming home no more. I'm done. It's over for me. And I'm broken. I'm mad. Mad at me, at my life, at who I am, at what I became. Mad. Broken. In my mind, I just wanted to kill my worthless self. That's how I felt. And I remember I knew about God. I knew that I needed a miracle. Who's ever felt like that? I just need a miracle. And the only miracle that I had ever learned and known about and believed in at one time was Jesus Christ, God, the Almighty God, the one that said nothing is impossible, was God. I remembered the seed. Luke 1:37. And then on top of that, I remembered other scriptures, like that when Jesus would speak, all things are possible to him who believes. If you believe, Jesus told Martha, you'll see the glory of God. I'm telling you these things. I knew the scriptures. It was the believing part that was difficult. And that's where you struggle. I guarantee you that's where you're going to struggle. The believing part. When you're down and out, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling depressed, when you're looking at this mountain in front of you of problems and issues, like bills, car problems, marriage problems, physical problems, health problems, sickness, disease, death, all these issues of life. And you feel hopeless. But that day, I remember just believing in having God help me, God. I decided, you know what? I'm going to believe. I'm going to believe in the impossible. This is why we have it. I think I have it. Where do I have it? I don't have it anywhere, right? There it is. Believing in the impossible. That's why that's there. It's not just because it sounds good. I know we like to put it in our rooms, and we tattoo it and put Jesus in our backs, and that's what I did. Believing in the impossible is because I had to do that. I had to believe in something that looked impossible for me. Remember how I started this class? I was in the county jail, 34 years old, on parole, with a habitual indictment, with a judge that wanted to send me to prison for the rest of my life, and now I want to change. You see, I mean, in my mind, my mind was telling me, just kill your worthless self. The devil, and now I know it's the enemy, just telling me, who do you think you are? You're just a loser. You'll never change. Look who you are. Look at what you've done. Who do you think you are? Family doesn't need you. See, and I know many of you relate. But see, that's the hope of the gospel. That's the hope of God. In fact, that's our only hope. And I remember just bowing my knee to Jesus Christ in that county jail. Against all odds. Against all odds. Prayer kind of went like this. I said, God, I know I don't deserve anything. I know I don't deserve your grace, your mercy. I know I don't deserve anything. But please help my family. Because I knew I was on my way to prison for the rest of my life. I knew it. And even if I go to prison for the rest of my life, please help me change that monster in the mirror. That's why I started, guys, 27 years ago on my daughter's 4th birthday. I'm telling you, I was hopeless. Now, the reason I love sharing that story, not because I'm proud of where I come from, Not because, and the reason I remember it so vividly is number one, because I share it a lot. Everywhere I go, I share it. Gonna share it on Saturday. Gonna share it next weekend. And you'll hear it here all the time. But because I share it, number one, because I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget where I come from. That's why I love doing what I do. I do not want to forget. And let me tell you guys, you will forget. You will forget the pain you put your wife through. You will forget the pain you put your family through. You will forget. I'm telling you, you will forget. I don't want to forget. That's why when you're changing your life and working with people and helping others is so key ingredient to staying sober, to staying engaged, to staying saved, to changing your life, working with other people. And that's where I started, man. And then again, like I said, the question was, okay, now what? And so, and those of you who don't know what happened, that, a miracle of God, they gave me 6.5 years. I think you guys might not know what happened. And that's the reason I look over here is because I know everybody. And most people have heard my story. I don't think you guys had never heard it, right? At the age of 35 years old, the judge that was going to send me to prison for the rest of my life, I'm telling you, just a miracle. She gave me 6.5 years. And if you understood what I was facing, you'd understand that's a miracle. It's just a miracle. And that day, I said, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my life. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. I didn't know if it was even possible. But that's where we start, guys. And that's what many of you are. And even if you've been in this process for a while, you'll always get to this one obstacle that you're going to have to believe again. That's why desire is where it all starts. And so then, ever since then, when I went back to prison, I began the search. I began looking for answers. I began searching. The Bible says, Jesus said, seek, Matthew 7:7. Seek, and you will what? Find. Knock, and the door will be open. Ask, and you shall receive. That's what he said. And he said that in a sermon called the Sermon on the Mount, which is Matthew 5, 6, and 7. Chapters 5, 6, and 7. Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7. It's the longest sermon that Jesus ever preached. And it's full of life-change ingredients. Telling you how to do this and 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 this. You go on how to pray, how to speak to people, how to do this, how to do that. Just a bunch of, you ought to read it. It's powerful. Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. And then in the end of this, he's saying, and then you keep on searching. You keep on seeking. You keep on asking, because that's the only way you're going to make it. And that's what I did. I kept on seeking. I kept on asking. I kept on knocking. I read books. I asked people. I asked the chaplain. I asked the inmates. I asked the volunteers that came in. I'd pray. I'd read my Bible. I just always seeking. I'm still doing it. It's New Year's. I'm on my second book already. I listened to him. Got smarter now. Because I can rewind. What? Man, that's awesome. What do you say? I take my notes. I already read 2 books on things that I want to improve on this year. The things I'm going to improve on this year. See, but I learned all that through the seeking. And everything I've learned has been through the seeking, through this journey. And that's how you're going to learn. It's what this class is all about. And the reason I can do what I do today is because I stayed in the searching. And the only reason you will fail, guys, to succeed in your life change, in your journey, the only reason you're going to fail is not because of the obstacles. I'll share a little bit more about the obstacles here in a minute. It won't be the obstacles. Because I'm telling you, they're there. You can't get rid of the obstacles. In other words, you can't get rid of the rain. It's going to come. You with me? The problems are going to come. The feelings are going to come. The attitudes are going to come. So it's not those things that need to change. Who needs to change? That's how it works. It's that simple. So the only reason you will fail is if you stop searching, if you stop fighting. Que dijo Trump? Like him or hate him, he's a fighter. And every time I read a book on somebody on overcoming, I just said, oh, it inspired me. I said, wow. Music was some of my first inspirations. Love songs, Journey and Styx, Bon Jovi. And of course, one of my favorite inspirations, Rocky. Right? It's not a matter of how hard you can hit. What do you say? It's about how hard you can get hit, the problems, and keep on going. How hard you can get hit and keep getting up. See, you're not going to lose because of the hitting. You're going to lose because of the quitting. You just can't quit. And this is important to understand, super important, because the only way you're going to make it, the only way you're going to overcome these obstacles in your life, these mountains that you're facing, the tragedies, the problems, these institutions that make you feel like you'll never change. I overcame them because I never stopped fighting. I never stopped searching. I never stopped. And so then, okay, let me stop here for a minute. Because, man, as you can see, I can go on and on. I have a lot of information, man. I just write it down so I can be a little bit more. Have you learned something so far? Does anybody have a question? Any comments? Any questions, any comments right now that you may want to share with me? By the way, also, before he shares, I have, well, no, I'll wait. Go ahead.
I know you say we gotta constantly continue fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember we were talking about the neurological part of our mind, right? That we have to kind of like psych ourselves out though when we're going through a situation and we know that we have to continue just, and we know that there's problems, but
Yep.
you gotta continue looking at like me, I look at it the positive side now, and the things that I have and stuff, so I continue pushing myself.
Yep. That's what you have to do. I like what you said because that's exactly true. And you're not going to learn this just anywhere, guys. You have to literally, like he said, you're going to have to psych yourself out. Remember when you were in prison? I mean, we have to psych ourselves out. I mean, we have to, now I think about, man, how do we live there for years? It's crazy, man. Years. To the normal person, it's like that. The mind doesn't even conceive it. Why? We have to change our mindsets. Everything has to change. You're forced to change. And that's what you have to do. You have to force yourself to believe in something that's not there yet. Faith, which is the next step, if you may. Another part of this process is huge. Jesus was the one that came up with that. That's why it's so powerful. If you believe, it's so simple, but yet profound. You have to believe it first. Okay, that's just how it is. So, part of everything that you're going to learn in here is not everything you need to know. Okay, let me repeat that. Everything you will learn in here is not everything you will need to know, because you can't learn it all in one time, in one setting, in one seminar, in one class. You're not going to learn it in one sermon, in one book. You're going to learn things as you move forward. And then it's not only the learning, it's the implementing. And then it's not only the implementing, it's making them habits. You all with me? This is why it's so important you have to keep fighting. So, what makes it so hard? What makes change so hard? What makes success so hard? What makes marriage so hard? What makes it hard? Anybody have any answers? No, well, that's what it takes. But what makes it so hard? But you know what? That is good, though. He said discipline. He said because nobody likes discipline. Discipline? Ugh.
Having one foot in and one foot out and not wanting to change. Like I've been married for 17 years. My wife never gave up on me. She kept fighting. And, you know, I did it for all the wrong reasons when I started. My heart turned over. And now I'm thankful. I'm thankful, you know, to my Lord and Savior too, where, you know, now I cherish my marriage. Now I try harder. Now, because I got my 2 feet in now, I'm not half stepping. And that's what holds us back, half stepping, because we're not fully in.
That's huge. Let me write that one down. Half stepping. I'm going to write that down. I like that. Half. See, stepping. You know, and that right there, that's just a little nugget. That's many of us, or I know that I would have needed to hear. We need be reminded. Because and this is why it's so important to keep staying the fight, come to these classes, come to church, because you're going to learn something. You can't do it half stepping. It doesn't work. No. Not if you want to win. Not if you want to change. If you just want to be mediocre, man, it doesn't matter. You with me? It doesn't matter. But most of us in here, you don't have that luxury. If you're on parole, if you're in prison, you don't have the luxury of a DWI. You don't have a luxury of one more hit. You don't have the luxury. You don't have the luxury of one more binge. You don't have that luxury. Not if you want to change your life. Y'all with me? So that's why it makes it so hard. Let me give you a few obstacles that so many men face, and women, when they get out of prison. And they're overwhelming. Oh, and by the way, that's awesome, man. That you finally got there. It's called having a purpose, having a reason, having a why. And you need to find that within yourself. It's not easy to find. And even when you find it, to nurture it. That's what I mean by when you got there, when you finally get there to that sincere desire to change. You need to thank God, man. Because I don't know how you get. I don't know how to get how to. I don't know how you're gonna get there. I don't know. All I know is how I got there, and that was that one phone call to my wife, telling her I'm not coming home no more, and my little girl telling me, "Daddy, why weren't you here? Today was my birthday." 4 years old. That broke me down to my core, and in my mind, it was too late. It was just too late. But again, because I believed in something that I couldn't see, that was impossible, God made a way. But these were the obstacles that I was facing, that many, many people face. No job, no place to stay, no obstacle. I mean, no vehicle, no social security, no ID, child support. It's a huge one. Parole conditions, pending warrants, debt, health problems. That's why so many don't make it. They quit. It's overwhelming. They're 30, 40 years old. I have a much more list here. Let me tell you the number one thing that stops people: bad habits. Smoking, drinking, porn, womanizing, spending money. See, I didn't even mention drugs. If you want to change your life, and you're using drugs, yeah, forget it. You're not going to do it. So then, let's close. Before I close, I'm going to pass around the donation bucket. I always pass around a donation bucket. That's what keeps us going, guys. Keeps me. I brought my donation today. All the money that comes into our organization, guys, just so you know, it goes to, like, I'm going to a seminar to the prison. I'm going to get all of them. There's 25 men that's going to attend this seminar, and I'm going to give them all books. It just helps us to me continue going into the prisons, especially. Helps us just continue doing what we're doing. So let me give you some solutions to the obstacles you're facing. The number one, I hopefully that I've shared it enough. You're going to have to believe. And this is where it all starts: desire and faith. And out of everything that I've learned in life about life change, and I keep on, like I said, I'm already on my second book this year. I already read a whole book. I was driving. I went to see my family in Michigan. It's 24-hour drive. And me and my wife and my son, we drove, took turns. But when I was driving, I would listen to a book. It was a 3-hour book. So that's how I got my first book. And that was awesome. It was incredible. It wired me up. And then the second book I'm reading, again, I was listening to it today, and it was talking about will and want. No. Will and Want. Yeah, he was talking about will and want. He said, he gave an example of his son. He said his 8-year-old son, he got his 8-year-old son in jiu-jitsu or something fighting. And then his son came home one day and said, I'm going to be the best fighter. And his father said, really? I'm going to be the best fighter. I will become the best fighter in the world, Dad. I said, really? What? Say it again. I will become the best fighter in the world. So he took him to practice, and for a week, one day the teacher called him in, and the teacher of the class, and he said, hey, your son, he seems like he lost enthusiasm for wanting to learn. So he went to talk to his son. He said, son, what happened in practice today? He said, well, Dad, what do you, I don't know. He gave an excuse for it. He said, I thought you said you're going to be the greatest fighter. And then he said to his son, no, I said, I want to be the greatest fighter. Dijo, no. You said, I will become the greatest fighter. He says, no, Dad, I said, I want to become the greatest fighter. Anyway, he went on to explain how what his son understood. It's a powerful thought. This guy's like in his 40s already, right? When this son was going through this. And he said, what my son learned at 8 years old, it took me years to learn. And that is that if I say I want to change, then there's not too much commitment there. There's not much, there's room, there's wiggle room. But if I say I will change, then you put yourself in and all of us understand that, especially if you're a drug addict. Somos bien, ¿cómo se dice? Mentirosos. But there's another word I'm looking for. Crafty, manipulative. But why? Because we learned that when we're young. That's why true change, true maturity true change is when you take 100% responsibility for yourself, for your life, for your future. 100%. And so then I've learned all these things throughout the years. And even in these books that I'm still reading, they all give me the same ingredients to change. So what will you have to change? Well, here it is. You're going to have to change the way you think, your mindset. You're going to have to start working on it. In other words, why do you have to keep coming to church? Why do you have to keep coming to the class? Why do you have to learning? Why do you have to stay in the fight, learning? Well, because you're going to have to change the way you think, your mindset. And that takes a lot of on and on. What's the other ingredient? You have to start looking at your attitudes. Your attitudes about life, about God, about yourself, about your future. Attitudes. We have good attitudes, bad attitudes, right? Your belief systems, your attitude. The belief systems produce your attitudes. The reason you feel the way you feel, the reason you act the way you act, the reason you do the things you do is because of what you believe. And you'll learn all this in here. And then, of course, action and habits. Habits are the key to your success. Good habits. Bad habits are the keys to your failure. Simple as that. Y'all see that? It's very, very simple. These are keys, and they're simple. But I didn't know this. I had no idea. And then your lifestyle, how you want to live, is going to make a major impact. You know, I believe you need to live, and I teach to live as a Christian, to live a Christian lifestyle. Because the Christian lifestyle, God challenges us. Challenges who we are, what we believe, tells us we're sinners, and that we need Him. We need God. The lifestyle of, my lifestyle is church. My lifestyle is helping people. I live, this is what I do. I work, and then I go to church and I go to revivals and I preach and I teach. This is what I live. This is it. This is what I live. There is no, well, at least in my life, maybe I need to make more room for my wife. There you go. I take him to so like un romantic tour. So those of you that know the Texas prison, la llevé para las paredes. Look, babe, this is an iconic prison. It's 100 years old. The Golden Gates. Hey, but my lifestyle is church. That's it. Helping people, doing what I do, learning, dealing with my attitudes, dealing with my faith, this is my life. And so then all these ingredients, everything you do, your lifestyle is going to produce something, right? What is it going to produce? Results. And in here, I teach that results is the name of the game. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Results. And if you want good results in life, you want success in life, you're going to make it in life, then you're going to have to learn to start changing some things in your life. And this class is about me helping you how to change it. Here's what, and coming to the class will give you the how. Does that make sense to anybody? So, does anybody have any questions here as we close? No questions? No questions? No concerns? So those that are new here, I have what I call a 90-day challenge. And I didn't bring it with me. And it's a little paper that states that you want to stay here for 90 days. And it's a challenge that I give everybody that comes in here. And the challenge is designed to help you. In other words, especially this new year. You know how we make New Year resolutions? Goals, they're called commitments. Like los gyms ahorita están llenos, ¿verdad? They're not, okay. And so then, there's another thing I learned. There's something about 90 days. Because that's how I live my life now. Is in I'm learning to do it better. For my first 3 months, January, February, March, April, May, June, because they're quarterly. It's called quarterly. And there's something about challenging yourself. So say, you know what? I'm going to stick to this for 90 days. And that's what I'm asking you to consider. To consider coming here for the next 90 days. And see what happens. And here's what I tell people. If nothing happens, and you decide, nah, that's a bunch of whatever, you can always go back to your miserable life. I didn't mean to offend nobody. But if you're interested, talk to me after class, and we'll get you on this 90-day challenge. And all the challenge is something that many of you already do. It's just when you feel like not coming or not doing, you remember, oh, the challenge. All the challenge is you texting me or our group every day after you read a proverb. Coming to church every time the doors open, 3 times a week, at least. Sundays and Wednesday. And coming here. That's it. That's all the challenge is. And I'm doing that for a reason. There's a reason for that. And you'll learn it in here. When you start learning to develop new habits, you start getting new results. It's that simple, guys. When I figured this stuff out, I said, wow, man, this is so simple. I don't have to be perfect at anything. I just have to keep going. Keep learning. Keep growing. And I'll get where I want to get. Well, I'll get where God wants me to get. And that's all that matters. So, guys, I hope you learned something today. Next week, same time, same channel, 7 o'clock, Thursday, every Thursday at 7. We'll see you next